Processing approaches in perception. We all know that perception is the ability to see, hear, or become aware of something through our senses. And approach is someone's view. Researchers became interested in understanding how different aspects of perception worked and how the mind interprets and organizes these perceptions. There are diverse views on how we perceive the world. That is, different view about the perception. These views are bottom-up theories and top-down theories. Before going to the details, as always, please remember to subscribe this channel. Thank you. The theoretical approaches or the viewpoint to perception are bottom-up and top-down. The bottom-up is data-driven or stimulus-driven, and it focuses on incoming sensory data, and it takes place in real time. While the top-down approach, it is the information that is interpreted using contextual clues. And for that approach, the previous experience and expectations are used. We will see both of this in detail. Bottom-up processing, and it is formulated by GIBSON. He said that the perception is bottom-up process, which means that the sensory information is analyzed in one direction. That is, from simple analysis of the raw sensory data to the complexity of analysis through visual system. For example, we start with an analysis of sensory input, such as pattern of light. What happens? This input or the information is relayed to the retina, where the process of transduction into electrical impulses begin. So, in the retina, the stimulus is converted into electrical impulses, and then it is passed on to the brain, where they trigger further response along the visual pathways until they arrive at the visual cortex for the final processing. So, the stimulus enters through the sensory organ and it is converted into electrical impulses, and here in brain, in the visual cortex area, the processing will happen. So simple as it is. So this is what GIBSON formulated. For GIBSON, sensation is perception. So if you sense something, if the sensation happens, it is perception. No interpretation or no previous knowledge is necessary, according to GIBSON. His theory, it is also known as ecological theory, because perception can be explained solely in terms of the environment. From the environment, we are receiving stimulus, right? So, the perception can be explained in terms of environment. That is what he said. So, his theory is also known as the ecological theory. In 1970, GREGORY formulated the top-down processing. What GIBSON formulated was bottom-up processing, and this one is top-down processing. According to GREGORY, the sensory receptors, they receive information from the environment, and then it is combined with previously stored information about the world, which we have built up as a result of experience. That is, the stimulus from the environment, it is combined with our knowledge or our previous experience or information about that stimulus, and then the perception happens. Our perception of the world are hypotheses based on the past experience and stored information. For example, this Necker cube. This is a diagram, and when it gives the feel of a cube, when you focus or you stare at this cross or at this cross, what happens is like the orientation will suddenly change. Either this grows or this grows. When you focus your attention, then the orientation of the cube, it will change. That is a single physical pattern. It produces two perceptions. Gregory said that the object appeared to flip between orientation. Why? Because the brain develops two equally plausible hypotheses and is unable to decide between them. When the perception changes, though there is no change of the sensory input, the change of the appearance cannot be due to bottom-up processing. In bottom-up processing, what it was said, the perception happens with the stimulus from the environment only. No prior knowledge or stored information is needed for perception. But after looking at this Necker cube, you will be able to understand that some prior information or knowledge also plays a role in the perception. The brain develops two hypotheses. That is why the orientation is switched. So this is top-down processing. The stimulus from our environment is frequently ambiguous. So to interpret it, we require higher cognitive information, either from our past experience or stored knowledge, in order to make inference about what we perceive. NEISSER in 1976, he proposed the perceptual cycle, the theory that explains how the top-down and the bottom-up process may be seen as interacting with each other to produce the best interpretation of the stimulus. That is the perceptual cycle. That is, both the bottom-up and the top-down theories work together for perceiving the world around. So for our perception, both these approaches are needed. Now let's have a quick recap on what we have learned. We have learned the approaches to perception, the bottom-up processing, the top-down processing, and the NEISSER's perceptual cycle. That is the bottom-up and the top-down combined together to make our perception better. Hope you like this video. Please like, share and subscribe. Thank you and keep smiling.